Hey guys, I'm Kevin,
I'm Jake.
and this is Movie Matters. Hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. It's now December, which is crazy. And we are doing bad, in quotes, movies from the 80s. Of course, the 80s. So we're doing Ishtar, directed by Elaine May from 1987 with Dustin Hoffman and Warren Beatty. So this movie, I mentioned it on the last episode, has a 4.7 out of 10 on IMDb.
Yeah.
Jake, do you think it's deserved of that 4.7?
So before I talk about how I felt about the movie, I want to kind of set the stage of why I picked this one for our bad movies list. So this movie was a massive box office flop, which I'm sure you'll talk about in a little bit. And was pretty widely critically panned as well. However, there are a handful of critics who consider this to be like one of the best films ever made, which is why it kind of piqued my interest. And like, I think it's like actually some like pretty notable people said that they really enjoy this movie. I think Scorsese said he really likes this movie. Tarantino has said he really likes this, and some others. So I thought it's at least worth watching, if like some of the greatest directors of all time, said that they thoroughly enjoy it. Despite its, pretty poor overall ratings. With that all being said, I did really like it. I don't know if it's like maybe like a 3 out of 5, which is like decent. Like there's for sure some like missteps, but like definitely not deserving of like being synonymous with like epic failures of of film,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, a 4.7 is so low on IMDb. That's like so bad. This movie is like a 6, like a 6.5 maybe. Not a 4.7. I enjoyed it. Like I gave it that exact review on Letterboxd, a 3 out of 5. I think it's very misunderstood. Just kind of looking into it, there's a lot of good trivia on it. It's hilarious. I was laughing out loud a lot. Just literally Warren Beatty's face the entire movie is so good. It's so just like his like dumbfounded look. The entire movie is the best part about it, in my opinion. He's so awesome in it. And like I was reading like some other people's reviews and stuff, and it just at that time to have this kind of screwball comedy from these two like acting titans, Warren Beatty and Dustin Hoffman. I mean, it was so different to see them in the light of stupidity and just worthless losers, and audiences weren't ready for that. And I read another review that's like, this is the 80s international Dumb and Dumber, and that's so spot on. So spot on.
Yeah.
And I had read that prior to watching the movie. And that's kind of like having that notion or like thought made it very enjoyable. Like being like, oh, it's Dumb and Dumber. Like it's going to be a stupid movie. And these characters are really stupid. But they're so funny and so lovable. And yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I didn't think it was bad. So
and like I think it was the director Elaine May that said if all the people who had critically panned and shit talked Ishtar had actually gone and seen it, it would have been a box office success.
Yes.
Implying that a lot of people never even watched the movie but continued
100%.
to kind of badmouth it and stuff, which I like read the Wikipedia article about the release and things, and there's several instances where people have not like having not watched the movie, you know, like either like wrote like cartoons and like newspapers like panning it, or
Yeah.
said a lot of like bad things about it, or like used Ishtar as like a reference to another movie that flopped like later in the 80s or early 90s. And almost all of them had never seen the movie, and then when
Yeah.
they watched it, like apologized for
Yes.
bad mouthing the movie, which is super interesting. And like I feel the same. You said that it's misunderstood, and I totally agree.
Very misunderstood.
Yeah, I feel like it wasn't like billed correctly. Like it's clear, like obviously a comedy, but
Yeah.
it's very much also a political satire in like the same kind of
100%.
vein as Doctor Strangelove. And like if you don't recognize that, it's not nearly as funny.
Yeah.
So like,
But how could you not recognize that?
well,
You know what I mean?
You should be able to. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, like there's like I need to like dig a little deeper, because I didn't like dig too deep, particularly into Elaine May. But like I would be astounded if she wasn't influenced by Doctor Strangelove in writing this movie, because there's like a lot of parallels between like the like massive incompetence of like everyone that's involved in like the various intelligence agencies, like all of the like global leaders, or like, you know, politicians, or like, you know, the guy at the CIA are all kind of like bumbling idiots too, along with the two main characters. It's just like a comedy of errors, you know, that like lead to them ultimately succeeding, you know, which is you know, like hilarious and ridiculous.
Kind of predictable, a little predictable that that's going to happen, but still.
But like, I mean, I think it's a pretty well crafted political satire. It is funny.
Agreed.
And like, yeah, I feel like it's, it could just go over a lot of people's heads, especially if you're going into it thinking that it's just going to be like the Naked Gun, you know, kind of like screwball comedy, or like something like that, where like there is a little bit of like a deeper like comedic element, that like some of the scenes that play out as if they're serious are actually also comedic, you know? So like, yeah, if you're not really paying attention and like don't fully get it, like I could see that you either being confused and thinking that this is like a mishmash, like garbage, you know, kind of written movie, or just like, yeah, completely missing like the humor.
Yeah. I think it's ahead of its time too.
Yeah,
like,
for
way
sure.
ahead of its time. And I feel like that's why it's misunderstood. And I was just thinking about it now. Like, I wonder how many political, like satirical political comedies have ever come out since Doctor Strangelove. I feel like not a ton. And I could be
or
mistaken.
they're like
but,
so overt that it's like obvious, you know?
Yeah.
We're like the thing about like really good political satire is when there's like one or two like wacky characters, or like on the verge of being wacky, but everybody else is like deadpan serious, or if they're wacky, they're delivering everything as deadpan, you know, like
100%.
kind of like you know, we're almost in like the Christmas, well, we are in the Christmas season basically, but Michael Caine in the Muppets Christmas Carol is like, you know, 100% like dead serious the entire movie, and it like makes the movie like kind of more funny. But like, yeah, I for anybody that hasn't watched Doctor Strangelove, go watch it. It's definitely worth watching. It's hilarious. And like you'll be able to see the like influence on Ishtar, I think, pretty easily.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I'm just googling like 80s political satire movies, and They Live, which we've done. Obviously, that's one of them. Says This Is Spinal Tap, which kind of interesting.
I mean, those
RoboCop.
are, yeah, RoboCop is. I mean, a lot of them in the 80s are more
Overt.
overt, and they're not necessarily like focused on this kind of subject matter. Like
Yeah.
they're focused on like corporatism or
Yes.
like, you know, whatever. Where like this movie
Greed.
is much more focused on the Cold War, like espionage and like meddling in the Middle East, which
Yeah.
also when did this come out? 86?
87.
87. I don't think it was like super clear to a lot of people either that this was even happening, you know, in you know, the other side of the world.
Yeah.
So that could be another thing on why like it just didn't connect with critics. I feel like a lot of like the film industry has been politicized, but it only really got like overtly political like in like the mid 2000s maybe. I feel like a lot of like film critics weren't necessarily as steeped in like global affairs as they are now, you know.
Yeah.
So it could be just that the fact that like they're like this is so ridiculous and like didn't even realize that you know some of it's like kind of true.
Yeah. I'd argue that, like, ever since, and I'm not trying to get political, like too political here, but like honestly, ever since maybe it's just the environment I was in, but ever since Trump came into politics, I feel like politics have gotten way more like in everyone's face and way
Yeah.
more around the media. Like it's just the media has just gone crazy with politics.
Well, and like
And
just embedded into popular culture to a
Oh,
level
yeah.
that's like
It's very
not
interesting.
really seen prior. So
yeah, everything has been politicized now, and it's just crazy. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
very interesting. But yeah, like I said, this movie has tons of great trivia. So Elaine May, the director, she shot 100 hours of raw footage. Crazy. There is a director's cut on Amazon Prime. It is the same runtime, which is very interesting. And I had texted you. I was like, hey, do you want to do the director's cut or theatrical? Usually we try and do the theatrical cut unless it's like Blade Runner.
yeah.
But it just I'm curious what the differences are, being that the runtime's the same, but also reading that, you know, 108 hours of raw footage, that's a lot. So, yeah, pretty crazy. So the movie, being a box office bomb, I mean, it was, according to IMDb, it had a $55 million budget.
Which is
That's
huge.
insane.
For a
That's
comedy
insane.
too. That's huge.
Yeah, huge. Like, how is a comedy going to make its money back with a $55 million budget in the 80s?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
And an R-rated comedy on top
Yes.
of it. Like
Also, there's a lot of, like, this movie set a lot of firsts, kind of. This is, so Dustin Hoffman and Warren Beatty had recently won Oscars, and then they do this movie, which is very interesting. And then they also were paid $5 million each to make this movie, which is very impressive at the time.
yeah.
It's the fourth film in history, at the time at least, to cost $50 million or more. And the ones that cost that were Superman, Superman 2, and then The Cotton Club, which I haven't seen The Cotton Club. But, like, Superman, like, those are big budget movies.
Like massive guaranteed blockbuster like kind of
Yeah.
movies. Yeah.
So, very interesting. I mean, that's part of the problem, that it costs that much money.
Yeah.
Like, clearly it's going to be a box office failure. I mean, in my opinion, now with how movies are made and how much money they're made for, they have to make so much money to make a profit or to turn a profit. Like, how are these movies going to make money. And I see that as such a fundamental problem in Hollywood right now, that they're spending way too much money on movies. It's crazy.
Well,
like The Running Man.
Especially, like, they just hope that the overseas market, primarily being China, is just going to recoup, like, all of their money, which is such a strange gamble to me. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't get it.
It's the talk about corporate greed and RoboCop and all that, and they live. It's like the Hollywood studios are definitely greedy, and there's a great show. I don't know if you've watched it on Apple TV called The Studio. Have you seen it with
the
Seth Rogen?
Show? I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, it's so great. I highly recommend it. And not only is it very satirical of Hollywood, it's done so well. It's shot as one continuous take, which is really cool. There's a movie, I believe it's in the 90s, called The Player. It's a Robert Altman film with Tim Robbins. And the whole opening shot is shot in one take going through a studio, like a studio backlot, and it's or like the offices area. And it's really cool. And they basically took that concept and made that into their show. And it's really cool. And I highly recommend it. And it won a ton of awards, deservedly. But it's Seth Rogen basically becomes a studio head, and he's all about, I want to make independent movies again. I want to make, low budget movies that are going to make a ton of money. And they're going to be like, I want to bring art back to Hollywood. Like, Hollywood's all about big budget movies that are sequels and franchises and based on IP. And it's all about that. And it's really interesting. And he becomes the studio head. And he's just like, well, shit, I kind of have to make these in order to satisfy the stockholders, the shareholders, but also to try and make money. So it's this double-edged sword that's very interesting in Hollywood, where it's these studio heads have to make this crap that's going to potentially make a shit ton of money, because it's going to make a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. And, this movie is like, how do you make a comedy? Again, how do you make a comedy for $55 million?
Yeah. Well,
however,
in a lot of ways, Ishtar is like the antithesis of that. Like, it's spending like an absurd amount of money to make something that like isn't going to be like highly marketable. So,
yeah,
like, it's kind of funny.
Oh yeah, and what's crazy is like this movie. Let me see where I had it. So despite having the reputation as one of the biggest box office failures of the time, it was #1 at the box office the first week.
Yeah.
But the next week saw Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Oh, so yeah.
And that movie made a ton of money. That's one of the highest grossing movies of the 80s. We talked about it. We did an episode on it. And what's crazy is before the release, market research led Columbia Pictures, the studio that released it, to believe the film would fail. Its head of marketing, Peter Seeley, advised the studio to minimize its losses by cutting the film's advertising budget. Instead, Columbia Pictures did the exact opposite and spent more to promote the film, afraid of alienating Warren Beatty and Dustin Hoffman. Ego trumps logic in Hollywood. And that's another like problem. It's like, it's very interesting. Also, like usually a lot of movies will do, before it releases, will do screenings for friends and family, for other directors. That's another thing I want to touch on.
Test screenings with audiences to
exactly.
see if people like certain elements of the movie before they do the final cut,
This movie had 3 screenings, and they were all super successful. People loved it. And all the stars, including Charles Grodin, who plays the CIA agent, who I love. He's from... we did Midnight Run, which I love that movie. It's one of my favorite comedies from the 80s. They have defended the film. They've kind of been like wishy-washy of like, they kind of make fun of it, being like, oh, it was such a box office bomb. Like, I don't want to release another movie like that. But they've also defended the film's quality, blaming the reports. Like, the movie had bad press, too. So that didn't help either. Like, that it had production issues, budgetary issues, And yeah, I mean, there's a whole
an interesting note on the press angle that I read is like, I guess Beatty produced this movie, and I guess he had a kind like contentious relationship with the press on his films. So he would like highly limit access for the media to like the sets, and like, you know, the like film journalists didn't like that. And this set was actually completely locked down, so like there was no media presence whatsoever. So he kind of contends that like a lot of the media was waiting to like pounce on this movie because they got locked out and were like almost destined, like predetermined that like that they were going to make the movie fail, which I think is an interesting take.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, and obviously the media tore it apart. So I wanted to go back to kind of the screenings, the successful screenings, and the ego trumps Hollywood aspect of it. So, you know, I want to go back to The Running Man, the newest one that just came out. A lot of these movies recently that come out, they get glowing reviews from producers or very top-tier talent in Hollywood. Like Tom Cruise is a buddy of Glenn Powell and watched The Running Man and loved it. He said he loved it. Now, in my opinion, if that's your buddy, how do you not say that? Do you know what I mean? How do you not try and help promote a film? It's ego, and it's like, I mean, the movie did decent in reviews. I hated it. I didn't think it was, hate might be a strong word, but I just didn't like, it wasn't great at all. And how do you like tell your buddy that the movie sucks? I don't know.
Well, also like there's a lot of those like intertwining like studio, you know, and actor allegiances, and like, you
100%.
know, I don't know if what studio made Running Man, but like
Paramount, I believe.
And I think they do Mission Impossible, right?
100%.
So, you know, there's like sometimes those things where it's like, hey, Tom, it would be great if you went out and said that Running Man was really great, you know, like that would be cool.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like that kind of stuff goes on a lot. Like you see that in like all kinds of media now.
I know.
The like, even in like podcasting, the like people go on each other's shows and like, you know, do like,
It's paid promotion, basically.
right. Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Or like it's like favor for a favor, or like, you know, like
yeah,
you know, like the cross promotion, you know, like
100%.
Glenn Powell will say that the new Mission Impossible is awesome if Tom Cruise goes and says that the Running Man was awesome, you know, like or whatever, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the movie has a 64% on Rotten Tomatoes. And again, that's also like reviews. I'm sure people are paid by studios to give positive reviews. IMDb, it's got a 6.7. Like, I think Ishtar is way better than Running Man, which is funny. I don't know. It's just funny. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some parts in the movie that I'm like, this is not good. But what's crazy is this movie, obviously, like, so it was so awful in its reception, and it coined the term in Hollywood, movie jail. I had no idea that this movie did that. Do you know what movie jail is? It's basically like, okay, so basically, if you have a box office disaster, Hollywood doesn't want to hire you anymore because they're afraid that you're going to have more of those. And you're not a bankable star or bankable director. And she was in movie jail because of that. And this is so as of, I'm pretty confident, I looked through IMDb, this was the last movie that Elaine May directed.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right.
She has directed some TV, but not a movie. She also wrote the screenplay for The Birdcage, which in the 90s, which, have you seen that?
No, but
I've
heard of it.
You should. Has your wife seen it?
I don't know.
I bet you she has, and if she hasn't, you both should watch it. It's great. She did that, and she did Primary Colors, which she was nominated for an Oscar for. So, I mean, she was an Oscar-nominated figure in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. I don't get it. I mean, it's really good.
Well, I mean, like, it's funny because this is, it seems like this is like a perfect storm, you know, of like several different issues all like converging to like sink the movie. Like we've talked a little bit about other movies that have had like pretty strong opening weekends only to be crushed by like one of the biggest movies of the 80s, you know, like the next weekend, or even being paired up against one of the biggest, you know, box office successes of the 80s. I feel like, you know, there's quite a number of box office monsters just in the 80s itself. So like your odds, like, I don't think were great, you know, like for some of these movies ever. Just cause, you know, like Beverly Hills Cop 2, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, you know, like Indiana
Aliens,
Jones,
yeah.
Aliens, like, you know, there's a lot of
E.T.
movies that just absolutely crushed.
Back
like,
to the Future.
Yeah, Back to the Future. Like, so yeah, getting up against one of those, I think, is kind of a death sentence by itself. You know, plus you add in maybe some media bias and you know, the oversized budget. You know, and like, yeah, you're screwed. You know.
Yeah, whenever I hear production issues and like reshoots, I get worried that the movie's going to be shit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just kind of general rule of thumb, kind of. I mean, some movies like Rogue One had a lot of production issues, but Rogue One was awesome. But I've read that Tony Gilroy ended up basically directing the last quarter of the movie, like the climax of the movie. So it's very interesting. Like, I don't know. Like I like that happened on, I think, Godzilla as well. It's another movie by that director. I'm blanking on his name. But like, I thought that
the most famous one
sucked.
that people would be aware of,
Suicide Squad.
Well, I was going to say Justice League.
Okay, all those superhero movies. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Suicide Squad as well. Still waiting on the Ayer cut, though.
Yeah, for sure. So, again, there's a lot of firsts with this. This is pretty interesting trivia. As a result of the losses it suffered from the film and negative publicity, Coca-Cola reevaluated its decision to enter the business. It spun off its entertainment holdings into a separate company called Columbia Pictures Entertainment, with Coca-Cola holding 49% of the stock. 2 years later, it sold Columbia Pictures to Sony. I had no idea.
Yeah, that's
very interesting.
Pretty wild.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, again, like production issues. So Warren Beatty and Elaine May quarreled and argued quite a bit off camera, especially in the editing room. Dustin Hoffman would kind of serve as their like mediator between the two of them. Beatty would also take sides against May in disagreements between her and the director of photography. At one point, Beatty and May had an argument with May telling Beatty, "You want this scene your way, you shoot it," and May would abandon the set for long periods of time. Beatty then reported the incident to Columbia Pictures Production, who then offered to fire May as a director of the film on Beatty's behalf as a producer of the film. But Beatty did not want to take responsibilities directing the rest of the film himself had May been fired, and did not want to contradict himself, as the whole point of the film was to give May the chance she never really had to show her talents as a director. Beatty told Columbia if they were to fire May, he and Hoffman would abandon the film entirely as well. In the end, May stayed on board and ended up directing the entire film. So, very interesting. And May and Beatty had a good relationship prior to this film, too. They had done Reds before, and like basically Beatty wanted to give May that shot at directing because he worked with her a lot and was friends with her. So very interesting that that happened. And that's another like production woe. Yeah, I mean it's there's a lot of interesting stuff, but I want to talk about the film in general besides just the trivia of it. Tell me, like, were there scenes that you loved, scenes that you hated? Because I mentioned a little bit, and I want to get into that.
Yeah, so I mean, one of my favorite scenes is when Hoffman and Beatty are in the desert, and Hoffman collapses, and all the vultures start like converging on him.
That was really well done.
And Beatty's kind of like crawling like past the vultures, like kind of like shooing them away and stuff.
Yeah,
that was super funny. I really liked the conversation between the CIA agent and the king of Ishtar, or whatever. Very like Doctor Strangelove, like kind of like just being like super like way more familiar than like they should be, like, you know, being you know, or like on the border of being enemies, but like you know, like not like kind of not really, you know. Just like that scene like itself, I think conveys the like satire angle just like so well. And like
agreed.
All that one and the like the like market scene where like the 5 different intel agencies are all like shooting at each other and trying to like kidnap Hoffman and Beatty is also really, really funny.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's funny, but it gets a little almost too slapstick for me there. Like him,
a little.
Them
But I think
like,
that's the point, though, is that like you have
like
these like
everyone's an
incompetent
idiot.
people,
Yeah.
like, you know, trying to chase after each other, and yeah,
that's really the only part I didn't like is like when they're on the roof and he like falls and he's like hanging right there. That was a little goofy for me, a little too goofy. But I liked it. You also mentioned, so I just want to take it back here. You mentioned the movie's rated R. It's only PG-13 actually.
Oh, is it?
Which is
That's
I know,
interesting.
which is very interesting because it should be rated R. They show a breast, like a female breast,
Very
naked
quickly,
breast,
but yeah.
very quickly. They say the F word at least 2 times in this movie.
Yeah.
It's very interesting that it's not rated R.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm surprised.
I know. So, but yeah, I again, I think my favorite part is Warren Beatty's just his face and his hair is so great, and I love the kind of introduction in a sense to Dustin Hoffman's character where he's in that like Italian restaurant playing the piano, and he plays this anniversary song for this couple and he's talking about them dying basically, which is hilarious. And then you get Warren Beatty in there who's just like, hey, I bought you a drink. I loved your song. Like, and then like, he's just they're so oblivious to the world outside of them and to the things they do and say. And it's such comedy gold and so well done. And it's just that I love that part. And like Warren Beatty's like him driving a fucking ice cream truck and like ignoring all the kids is hilarious. There's so many like comedic gold scenes in this movie. And
like
it's
the way they like write about like everything that they're doing, like trying to turn everything into a song. Like the scene where they're like crawling through the desert, singing about like crawling through the desert is so funny. And like even the you said that, you know, like they're kind of oblivious to like everything. And, like, you know, like I think it's one of like the first scenes is where they're staring at the Simon and Garfunkel poster and they're like, getting down to business or whatever is going to be way bigger than Bridge Over Troubled Water, which is like the dumbest thing that like they could possibly say. And like it's like never really addressed, but like they both suck at singing too, which like makes it even funnier. Like, you know? Like,
but
I mean,
somehow they weasel their way into getting a record deal at the end, which is also genius. Like, it's so funny.
Like, I mean, that's that, like, the like absurdist, comedy like stuff that like, they have the opportunity to kind of ask for anything, in this deal, and they want a record deal, it's like so ridiculous.
They're so blind again. Yeah, it's just like oblivious and blind to how things work. It's so funny.
Yeah, very Dumb and Dumber, like for sure.
Yeah, it's great. I like when just Dustin Hoffman's character Chuck is so like he's always trying to keep it together too, to like not be the biggest loser compared to Lyle, which is funny.
Yeah,
like that's really great. And then Lyle's dumped by his wife, and then Chuck gets dumped by his girlfriend, and then Chuck takes it so much harder than Lyle and like wants to kill himself. And like he's like, don't call the cops, and like Lyle calls everyone, which is hilarious. I love the whole smuck thing. Like that whole bit is great. And the whole them getting recruited to be like CIA or a communist is really funny. Mm-hmm. And the girl who is like what's her name, Shira, she's great in this, and I love that like they think she's a guy, and Warren Beatty like punches her in the face, which is ridiculous, and like tackles her, and she's talking, and he's like holding on to her. He's like, "Are these breasts?" It's like just so funny and so over the top, and I love it. The whole blind camel like shtick is really funny.
Mm-hmm. The auction scene is really great.
Auction scene is amazing, where he's just speaking gibberish. That's so great. I love going back to you talking about like them crawling in the desert, of like them passing out, and then Warren Beatty being like, "Oh no," like realizing they're like, "We're gonna miss our show." Like,
yeah,
like
we'll
so
never
great.
work in Morocco again.
Yeah, so good. Them shooting at the helicopter is hilarious, and like, fuck you and fuck you twice. Yeah. It's just really, really funny. Yeah, so just a very misunderstood, not deserving of the 4.7.
Yeah, I mean, like even the negatives against it aren't even that bad. Like, I'd say that it's probably too long. And like the long parts, I think, or like the parts that drag, are the parts that like, aren't good. Like I'd say like almost the first like third of the movie isn't entirely necessary, even though there are some funny bits. It probably could have been shortened to like 10 minutes instead of like whatever it is, like 30 or 40 minutes, of like the setup, for the movie. But like, I don't know, overall, I think the writing is pretty good. I think once you get through like the parts in New York, it's really well paced.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's not a whole lot that I would knock about like the second half of the movie, or the second 2/3.
Yeah, I enjoyed pretty much the whole movie. I can't really complain. Like I said, the only complaint is sometimes he gets a little absurdist.
Yeah.
But other than that, really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. And I'm curious, like I'm so curious how the other movies are going to go.
Yeah. I don't think all of them are going to be like this, but we'll see.
I don't think so either, but this is a great one to start.
Yeah.
And so next week we have Howard the Duck, which I've never seen. So I've not seen any of these movies.
Yeah, me either.
So that we're doing. So we have Howard the Duck next week. I don't know if I've heard that movie's like really bad, but I feel like I have.
So I've heard that like it's one of those things where like you gotta just accept that it's like a dumb movie and then you'll like have fun. But like, yeah, if you like go into it expecting a cinematic masterpiece, like you're gonna be like horribly disappointed. So
It does have a 4.8 out of 10. So it's technically it's better than Ishtar. So we'll see. Interesting. Yeah, we'll see how it is. So, yeah, it's crazy we're in December. Bad movies all month long. So far, that wasn't a bad movie. So we'll see how Howard the Duck fares, and we'll catch you guys next week with that.
Yeah, see ya.
Take care, guys.